All right, welcome back. Now, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the disruption to the economy was huge. Companies had to change tact. Business owners had to scale down as COVID-19 restrictions were enforced. Gig workers in the tourism, hospitality, entertainment, and events industries suffered. However, the unceremonious interruption of physical life ushered us into operating on digital platforms a lot more. Now, here, several Kenyans opened up shop and started doing business. In fact, Kenya's e-commerce revenue is projected to hit $1.5 billion. Yes, dollars this year alone. Well, tonight we speak to some individuals who were working from home well before the pandemic made it fashionable, and also engage a player in the events industry to give a picture of where we are when it comes to the gig economy, now valued at 12 billion Kenya shillings, I beg your pardon. Now, joining me in studio is Emma Jemutai, an online business owner, and joining virtually are Maureen Amakabanje from Nyo Mamsoko, as well as Zuhura Odhiambo, chairperson of the Events Managers Association of Kenya. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies. Let me begin with you, Emma. Just in terms of how you started your online businesses, and that's plural. So what do you run right now?
I run an online retail business. I major in sales of household items, interior decor, among other things.
Okay, and how long have you been running that?
I've been running it for about 4 years now.
4 years?
Yes.
So what was the progression in terms of sales and revenue? What was the growth like for you?
In addition to what I've just mentioned, the retail business, I also ventured into sales of non-pharmaceuticals, owing to the pandemic, which had very, very highs in terms of business. So one business went a bit low, while the other had extreme highs.
Right.
Yes.
So were you at any point in informal, rather formal employment?
No, not really.
Not really. So
Yes.
this is what you've been doing.
So ideally, I started the online business when I was still in campus at Daystar.
Wow.
So from my projection at that time, after campus, I was to look for formal employment. But when the business that I do went really up, I've not yet found the need to look for formal employment.
Incredible. So you just created opportunities for yourself,
Yes.
which, we're hearing more, especially when it comes from government. But let me come to you, Maureen, to tell us more about Nyo Mamsoko. What is that all about?
Thanks, Victoria. So basically, Nyo Mamsoko is an umbrella body that has listed women businesses from within Nyayo Estate in Bakassi. So basically what we do, we provided a digital platform using just available tools. That's WhatsApp for business, and women just transact amongst each other. So we buy commodities, products and services, and we really encourage our women to put their best foot forward in terms of the products they're producing or the services they are offering. So in a nutshell, it's just an umbrella body that has brought together women who are doing businesses from home, or they had startup businesses, and then we buy from each other. And then, of course, it's important to note that Nyayo Estate is the largest gated community, so there's definitely a huge opportunity there. So the vision is to just get women to transact and to trade amongst each other.
It's a fantastic idea. What role did the pandemic play in, I guess, heightening that activity between the moms? What difference did it make?
It made a huge difference because, of course, when COVID checked in, there was a lot of restricted movement, and of course, there's people who are laid off. So we did see our platform catalyzing the role of business and just having a place where people can safely buy and get a home delivery. And also, most important, I think, us interacting with some moms who actually really started baking, for example, and even providing products and services, and this also acted as an income. So of course, when revenue cut off from their day-to-day, maybe 8 to 5 jobs, they were able to produce products and services from their homes and deliver to the mom. So I think for me that was such a plus, because people didn't lose out on revenue or their day-to-day living. And I think one of the services that I also really saw picking up during the pandemic was counseling. We got some councillors who signed up into the platform. And of course, because we interact with such a neat and safe community, we've been able to see the uptake of counselling services really picking up. Just as a service, other than product, I think that service really stood out for me.
Oh, wow. Zuhura, let me bring you in because you play in the events space. We know the devastating impact the pandemic had on players, suppliers, contractors who were in that industry. When you're looking at over a year into the pandemic and how some are trying to recover, what did the losses look like?
Thank you, Victoria, for that particular question. Of course, when we talk about COVID, I think it will go down history about the effect it has had mainly on the event industry, which, of course, I'm humbly enough to chair the various organizations that are actually doing events. And we saw from the beginning of March last year, we were the first industry to be affected, and we seem to be the same industry that's being affected every other time. So the pandemic definitely has really affected a lot of our businesses. We are talking of over about 5 businesses that have actually seen closure in between from March last year to December. We have seen a lot of businesses that have actually let go a lot of employees. Of course, in our business, you can imagine the value chain around it, because we are one business that ensures that every other time on the 24-hour clock, we have people that are working for us. And even if you touched on the gig economy, you're seeing the contractual laborers who we rely on to be able to help us put up 1 or 2 events together that are affected. These are people who earn $1 a day kind of employment. So we have seen those suffering. Organizations have actually wound some of them. We have seen a lot of organizations change different tactics for survival. Some have actually minimized their employees and ensured that, some have actually been let go.
Well, Emma, for you, it's a completely different story in terms of how did sales go, especially during the pandemic? More people are online looking for your services. So what difference did it make for you?
So in addition to running the households business, I was also in the non-pharmaceuticals business, mainly selling masks, sanitizers, thermometers. We were literally working round the clock, curfew to curfew, and the sales were quite high.
So how good does it get in terms of sales? You don't have to give an exact figure, but just a general.
In about 3 months, let's say in 2020, between March and June, we can say we did up to 300 times the number of sales we do on an ordinary month. Yes.
Wow.
So let's say from assuming we're doing 100,000 in a month, we're doing 3 million in the same month.
Incredible. And you're still able to keep up with the demand?
No, we were not able to keep up with the demand, but we were serving as much as we can.
So, from that lesson you've learned in terms of the growth and whatnot, what plans do you have to scale what it is you're doing? Because I'm sure you want to be in this for quite some time.
Yes. So also for the other households business, the retail business, we had quite a low because most of the clients were not able to come to the shop. We're doing most of our deliveries online. So for our contractual riders, their business was quite high because clients don't come. They want deliveries. More and more deliveries were going higher. So with time, even with the pandemic, something that I really learned was having different sources of income because they were performing differently. One was an extreme high, one was a bit low. So we were still able to survive even despite the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah, as I heard from one very successful business person, have several irons in the fire just in case to keep you afloat. But Maureen, let me come to you. Just in terms of the kinds of businesses that the moms in Nyo Mamsoko are engaging in, what are some of the more popular ones, more profitable ones, if you will?
The popular services and products, of course, include broadly, there's food. Food is leading, right from fresh produce to processed produce, cakes, jams, peanut butters. Then there's also fashion and beauty. So, of course, that's clothing, shoes, cosmetic. And of course, like I said, there's been such a high uptake or such a high subscription of women who are offering counseling and therapy services. Those are some of the popular products and services that are pushed in our platform. And then, of course, education. There's also been women listing either tuition services or just bridging services for school-going children.
Right, and the assumption is most of these women would be stay-at-home moms, or some also working mothers who have a side hustle.
Actually, a good number of them are working moms who have a side hustle, and some are stay-at-home moms, or some are in the transition phase. So maybe you got a baby and you took some time off, and then of course the baby is growing and you're looking for something to do. So we have a blend. So I wouldn't say they are most of them are stay-at-home moms. It's a blend. Some of them work 8 to 5 and run this as a side business. Some of them started side businesses because when COVID checked in, they lost their jobs, and some of them now do this 100%. So it's a blend of moms and women who we have within our community, our business community.
Right, and where would you want to take it? Where do you see it going in the next couple of years?
From the conversation that we have, of course, because like I mentioned, we have the privilege of just having a very safe community, so discussions happen. So top of mind, I'm looking at upskilling, upskilling women and just equipping them with tools and resources that they're able to optimize their businesses, because I think the opportunity is there. So let me put it in perspective. So Nyayo Estate has around 4,800 homes. So if a businesswoman is looking at a plan and saying that I want to target maybe half that population, they'll need to have the skills and the resources and the know-how in the strategy they will apply. So I'm looking at a future where we'll have a resource point, either on an e-commerce platform, where women can access resources so they can be able to skill themselves, so they can better run and manage their businesses efficiently. Because, of course, you understand capacity issues when it comes to growth. So that's one of the areas. And then, of course, we're looking at setting up an e-commerce so that these women, because they have really, really beautiful products and services, are they able to take these products and services out of our borders? That's possible with an e-commerce platform and an efficient delivery chain. And then, of course, most important, I've been a gig worker for I think the last 8 years, and I think there's an opportunity right there for women to offer products and services, but most important, their expertise.
Absolutely. And, according to experts, by 2027, most of the labor force will be gig workers, people selling their skills. Zuhura, let me finish up with you, because as it is right now, the events industry can't continue. We need to see something move. We've been hearing calls for opening up the economy so people can continue on with their businesses and dealings. But what do you see in terms of, because this COVID period will extend. It's here to stay for quite some time. So how do event industry players navigate that?
Thank you, Victoria. Of course, we know COVID is quite here for quite some time. And, as the event industry, a lot of changes have been there. We've seen us moving into hybrid, smaller meetings, and then, of course, being able to have the opportunity to have still people in attendance online. And we've seen agencies finding ways to work with freelancers who dominate the gig industry. So the rise in the liquid workforce, of course, and the high economy is changing the nature of work and ethics in the event industry. I mean, and the event companies must, of course, embrace the benefits like hiring experts, easily for services not needed regularly, and to ensure that we have the agility to scale the workforce up and down to meet the business demands, and of course, reduction on the cost of administration and, office space and facilities. Of course, it has also given us an opportunity where, and would thank our CS and Najib Balala, having worked with his ministry and as regulated under the TRA and now working all through that, we've seen organizations formalizing their businesses, and this is for tomorrow, how ready we are to position Kenya as a MICE destination in Africa, and we're hoping that we can be top on that lead. But nevertheless, of course, we've seen a lot of the hybrid businesses that have come. The challenge has been how to monetize it. Everybody thinks they can have a Zoom meeting and, they can have whether they're Teams meeting and that. But we have seen opportunities that have also upscaled our industry to be able to be viable and spaces for tomorrow. Of course, looking at the gig economy, the best part of it, and even looking at Kenya as a whole, we've had various studies that have done from our Jua Kali sector that has enabled the conversation in the global footprint to be discussed because of what the findings that they've had here. But what we are also asking is the bigger part of enabling, having policies that can be implemented for the gig economy, because you can imagine how much we are, because of the resiliency and the sustainability of the people in the gig economy. It has actually made the gig economy emerge, and now it's pretty big around that. And those carry a lot of, from your Jua Kali artisans, the plumbers that in Kenya are paid lower than the rest of other people, and yet in the Western world we see they're paid well. The technicians, the Jua Kali people that we believe on making the awards that are used in events. The blockchain, the value chain across is actually very, very interesting. So we've seen a lot of event companies and that have actually upped their game on ensuring that we're bringing in the hybrid formation. And this is just prepping us for the future, because then we are still looking at, it's still under the creative economy. We are still one of the key industries that are going to drive the economy of this country.
Fantastic. We have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Zuhura, Maureen, and Emma, for giving us insights on the interesting things Kenyans are doing when it comes to making money online and just in the unconventional spaces. Hopefully you got some ideas while watching. Well, that does it for Citizen Weekend. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Victoria Rubadiri.